Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunishume, washmale. Ohio Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, hola, bojo, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuman chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, abuna, mucho, gracias, swabi, ab bhalli kare aya. Hosh gayal de nanayo sayo, khuya mora, chi battochi, haljot, kalimera, khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV1 and watching World this morning. Alongside my very wonderful colleague who happens to be Miss Sadaf Ali Khan. I happen to be Shahzad Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Sadaf, assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. I'm very excited as usual, as always. And this guy happens to be a very interesting guy. He actually makes me laugh so much.
No, I mean, we certainly cannot say what we were talking about on air. But Sadaf, there's this one thing which I would want to share today, and that is that, you know, the amount of cold that we are experiencing these days, it makes me feel like as if I cannot function anymore. You know, so as soon as I woke up today, I was like, okay, I need to go to work and this is too early. I was like, whether I'll be able to do it or not. Because either it's a sunny day, that's fine. I can manage with that. You know, if the sun's out, you know, it gives me a lot of energy and positivity and whatnot. But whenever it's cloudy, I feel like, okay, I think I need to stay back home. But certainly I had to be here, you know, for your support and for my program, for our viewers as well. Yeah. But what about you? When it's too cold, how do you feel about it? I don't think that women actually feel that cold, right?
I feel very cold actually.
Really?
What I do is this, I get dressed before actually brushing my teeth, so that actually gives you a cushion. And sometimes you can just bring your stuff here at the office, and we have really nice temperature over here in the makeup room.
That's
so
true.
Things get easier.
That's true. Which is why most of the people who might not even work at PTV will stay at PTV because the temperature is like really amazing. But while we are at it, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with it. You know, obviously great news for Pakistan cricket lovers as well, and it's because of the fact that Pakistan beat South Africa by 3 wickets in the first one-day international in Pal to take 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. Batting first, South Africa made 239 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in allotted 50 overs. Henrik Klaassen remained the top scorer with 86 runs. He smashed 7 fours and 2 sixes in his innings. Ryan Rickleton added 36, while Aiden Markram made 35 runs. For Pakistan, Salman Ali Agha bagged 4, while Abrar Ahmed took 2 wickets. In reply, Pakistan achieved the 240-run target for the loss of 7 wickets in 49.3 overs. Saima Ayub remained top scorer with superb century. He made 109 runs with the help of 10 fours and 3 sixes. Salman Ali Agha made match-winning, unbeaten 82 runs and getting 4 wickets as well. He was the player of the match as well. It was a fantastic match.
When Pakistan wins the match, that is like such a good day, such a good night, and everything everything is just sorted out. Everything is just so much on point. But whenever Pakistan loses,
I was about to ask this.
That is like a day of sadness, and accompanied by another day of sadness.
So what did you do when we actually lost the entire T20 series against South Africa?
I was literally crying in the live transmission.
Oh my God!
Yes,
you don't have to cry. I mean, it's okay. It's part of the game. But moving on, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you take the lead and tell us about what's happening in squash?
Oh, very nice and interesting stuff happening in squash as well, where Mohammad Harmas Ali Raja from Pakistan has reached the final of the US Junior Open Squash Championship. In a remarkable match held in Pennsylvania, he became the first Pakistani to advance to the final in the under 11 category. The competition showcased talent across various age groups, including under 11, under 13, under 15, under 17, and under 19 as well, with over 1,600 participants from around the world. In the semi-finals, Hamas achieved a resounding victory against Luke from the United States, and winning decisively with scores of 11-3, 11-5, and 11-7.
Wow, that's wonderful. And right from squash, I'm going to take you to mixed martial arts as well. You know, it's a budding field, it's a budding sport over here in our country, and imagine that Pakistani fighters defeated all 5 Indian fighters in the brave CF Mixed Martial Arts major competition. Pakistan's Rizwan Ali knocked out Indian fighter Shrikant Shekhar. The first round, Rizwan Ali also ended the MMA career of the Indian opponent. Wow. Babar Ali defeated India's Muhammad Farhad in a bantamweight bout to claim his 8th victory in the welterweight competition. Abbas Khan outplayed Indian fighter Seth Rosario, while in the bantamweight category, Ismail Khan outclassed Yadvinder Singh. Awan Akib thrashed Indian fighter Ehtisham Ansari in flyweight category. Wow, guys. I mean, you guys have really made us all proud as well, and please make sure that you continue to do so. We were speaking about MMA, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's a budding sport. A lot of people are getting into it, and inshallah, we will soon have that ecosystem. But now, Sadaf, there's an interesting aspect. Do you use ChatGPT?
No, I don't.
You don't use ChatGPT
I
at all? Why don't you use ChatGPT?
I don't know why.
You don't know. Okay. Okay. So for everybody who's out there who's been using ChatGPT, I think it comes in handy. You know, for maybe a TV program, maybe how you really want to get data out. You know, so you give it a prompt and it will actually share whatever is out there till 2024. You know, so whatever data. But ladies and gentlemen, it's all because of artificial intelligence. And if I am to kind of speak about it, being an anchor person, I do believe that artificial intelligence can contribute immensely to our lives. Well, that's a discussion which is going on. It's a hot topic all over the world as well. It's a global issue. So to talk about this, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who's got all sorts of awards. You know, I've spoken about him. You know, this is the second time that he's over here in the studios with us. So ladies and gentlemen, to speak about the impacts of artificial intelligence on society, we're very lucky that we've been joined by Professor Dr. YASAR, AYAZ, Chairman, National Center for Artificial Intelligence. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. It's good to be back here.
Likewise, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. You know, so if we are to kind of speak about your awards, IEEE actually awarded you as well. You have the Presidential Award. You know, you represent NUST as well. You happen to be the Chairman of National Center of Artificial Intelligence. So first things first, you know, we have gotten the basics of artificial intelligence from you. Let's talk about whether, yes or no, AI will improve our lives or not.
It certainly will. Like basically the idea is that any kind of advancement in technology is spurred on by, for example, corporations or investors who are looking to provide some sort of a tool or some sort of a device or any, you know, a medium which can help humans improve their lives. If they don't do that, then it won't sell in the market.
True.
Of course, AI, like any other technology, can have positive and negative uses, and people can develop it either way.
Yep.
But eventually, like if you look at, for example, the advent of cars or advent of even, for example, weapons, which are meant to, you know, for not a very good purpose, exactly, not a very friendly purpose, but like the usage that we found in our society and the laws that we found in, you know, regulating them and controlling them have ensured that weapons contribute positively towards maintaining law and order and security. So if something like weapons, for example, can be used for a positive impact on the society, AI certainly is something that is, actually AI has been the manifestation of, you know, the human pinnacle, because anything that we have in science, anything that we invent, anything, this comes from observation. Like for example, how did we get this idea that we need to fly? We observed birds while flying in, you know, the sky, and we thought, you know, why not give it a try, right? And in fact, in a lot of initial attempts that we see in old-timer movies, and, you know, for example, people trying to wear wings and trying to fly because they're just trying to mimic birds. So, and then in time, they understood the science behind it, the aerodynamics behind it, and then we had not just you know, aeroplanes and aircrafts, but now also spacecrafts. And this has given us a whole new perspective of the world. Similarly, AI, for instance, this is number one. From purely creator's point of view, any sort of science that we invent is actually trying to mimic something that exists in nature. So human brain, for instance, is something that exists in nature, and it can process so much information. It can give us, you know, a variety of conclusions and all that.
But not all brains though, not all brains. Yeah, but that's a valid example.
Yeah, there is another dimension to it. Like for example, we see in movies, the artificial intelligence, it's replacing humans, the robots are replacing humans. How do you think, or how much do you think it can be true in the coming future?
I think that
it is true now.
Yeah, AI would evolve like a tool. For instance, like ChatGPT, ever since it has surfaced, look, it is a content producer. But has it completely replaced content writers? It has actually enabled content writers to produce more comprehensive content. Because, for instance, you know,
produce or kind of reproduce. I mean, you know, there's still a confusion, because imagine that it totally depends on the prompt that I'm going to give to ChatGPT. And imagine, so, okay, I'll be very honest. You know, I don't know whether I should say it on television or not, how I've been using it. So what happens is that, for example, if there's a subject, and if I am to kind of look for, because earlier what would happen is that I would go to Google Scholar, I would check on Google, I would go on to different articles and collect my data, and then, you know, be like, okay, you know, this is how I need to converse with my guest today. But with ChatGPT, the best part is that if I give it the right prompt, what it will do is that even if there was some research conducted with every area that I'm looking for in 1960s, 1970s, 80s, or maybe probably, even in recent times as well. It will give me all of those references, and then I can just, with one page, I actually can summarize the entire topic. So it is helpful. But do you think that, at times we will stop using our brain as much as we are using it now?
People said this when calculators were being invented. Like people used to count on abacus, and a lot of other devices before it got to calculators. So whenever technology comes in, this kind of things are always there. In fact, for instance, before computers became common, people used to conduct interviews on televisions even before that. They used to read through, if you look at, for example, the ESU style debatings, for instance, they used to disallow computers inside the preparation rooms. And, they used to have all sorts of, for example, biographies, or you could have encyclopedia, you could have newspapers. Based on that, you could prepare your material. So it's not very long back, people used to think that consulting Google to prepare, for example, the things that you'll be discussing about on TV or in debates on stage was maybe not very good. But it is okay, why ChatGPT, for instance, and why does it make things easier? Because the future of internet actually is going towards a direction where we'll be communicating with computers and machines in a more human-like way. Right. So for instance, like even with Google, all the data that ChatGPT provides to you was available on the internet. And giving the right keywords, you could still, come upon that data, but it would take you more time. ChatGPT has just made it easier in one sense, that for instance, if you give the right prompt, or you give 2 or 3 different prompts, you converse with it like you would converse with another human. So this has made the learning experience easier. Now the bad part is that in case of Google, for example, when you used to click, for example, in search engine, you used to click on something and it used to give you a page, and you could refer that this information comes from this page. ChatGPT, for every single line that it writes, it won't give you a reference. It will give you the major references which contributed to that article, but for every line it will not give you a major reference. What people have started doing, some people have started doing, is that sometimes they would paraphrase, for example, a research. Somebody else has done a research, they'll put that research into ChatGPT, they'll paraphrase it, and they'll type. And right now tools are already beginning to become available. For example, Turnitin, a prominent tool that we use in the academic communities, now it has a version which checks whether text is AI generated or not. Right? So like AI is
we have the
progressing in both ways,
well.
of course.
Exactly, but while we are at it, let's speak about this. I think that's what people might be scared of. Imagine, do you think that there will be a time that AI will have autonomy and AI could actually do whatever AI feels like? Do you think that there will be times of such sort as well?
The most modern models with human and AI sharing of control, there are several different models for that. So but like most of these models, especially for critical tasks, require AI to have like at least the human to have a thumb on the trigger button. But in many cases, for instance, we see the self-driving cars going around, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, there has been a video running around on social media where a Tesla which is self-driven actually saves the life of a human, because he just suddenly falls onto the road and the car circumvents him and actually bumps into another car. So in real time it evaluates which risk is more. Should it bump into the other car? Should it bump into the human? So the question is, do humans not have accidents on the road? Do people not die on the road because of human drivers? Do we forbid humans to drive because of that? So is AI safer or unsafe compared to that?
So this means, so this means by far that that the quality of life is actually going to increase. The life expectancy is going to get better. So okay, since if we are talking about accidents now, let's get into medicine. Now, do you think that AI will be able to actually let us know 2 years prior to whatever we are eating that, hey, you know what, your cholesterol will be up in 2026, or probably you will have heart issues in 2027 or things like that? Do you think that technology will actually help us be better and be healthier?
Actually, this is already happening.
Okay.
There was a very famous result which people could not immediately explain, but it's been making rounds around social media, and this was that a case of breast cancer where AI had actually predicted that a certain case is a case of breast cancer, and there wasn't even a tumor in the the ultrasound and in the mammogram that which was shown in the picture. There was nothing actually there, and people thought this is a false positive. They actually put this aside. 4 years later, exactly on that same spot, breast cancer surfaces. And this was a study. The algorithm was made by Stanford, and this made rounds on social media that AI is observing something. In 90s, there was a research, for instance, by a researcher called Tom Mitchell in Carnegie Mellon University. He's author of the famous book on machine learning and head of the machine learning department. So he did a research on emergency C-sections, and in the hospital from which he got the data, 7% of the total people coming in, the total ladies coming in, they were requiring the emergency C-section at the end of the pregnancy. So analyzing more than 400, I think, variables, hundreds of variables across, through the 9 months, he was able to predict which people, for instance, because when you ask the doctors, they tell you several different parameters. For example, fetal position, fetal distress, there are several factors that contribute to it. But which factor contributes more, which factor contributes less, because this is based on doctor's observation, and every doctor has a limited experience of how many patients they've dealt with. Coming to AI, AI gathers data of so many patients dealt with by so many doctors across so many regions, and it tries, so medicine essentially, why, for example, the doctor who practices more is likely to have seen more cases, but AI would have seen so many more cases compared to any single doctor. But would it erase the doctor? Would it remove the necessity for a doctor? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
If
Obviously.
we talk about social media, we are seeing AI generated images, we are seeing videos generated by AI as well. Do you think for a layman it's going to be easy to tell that, okay, this is an AI generated thing? Because like a lot of people in our society, they are not that technologically advanced, they do not know that much about the technology. So for a person who is just surfing the social media, who's just browsing the internet, how is that going to be for that person?
And in addition to this, just, I don't know, a few days ago I heard this news, and it said that, for whatever pictures of yours exist, AI can actually locate them and get them to you. Now imagine, I don't want all my pictures to be seen by the people. It can be dangerous too, right?
Yeah, actually, for example, Facebook, when this came into the market, Facebook is a book of faces.
Yeah.
It's meant for example, if you share your pictures with friends, for example, you have some old pictures, you share them around and you tag your face in it. So if the Facebook algorithm spots your face in another picture which you hadn't seen and somewhere on Facebook, it will find it for you. So if it is there on any digital media, and the face recognition algorithm is working on it, then it's bound to find it. But isn't it good for you that
you cannot really hide?
I don't know.
You really want
Some
to hide.
pictures that we have hidden already. You know how वो बचपन की एक फोटो हमेशा जांघिए के बगैर जो माँ बाप ने खींची होती है. I do not want
This
that to
actually
surface.
reminds me about something. There was this one picture of mine, and I really never want to see that ever again. One day, my father showed me that picture. He's like, "Bete, do you know who this person is?" He's like joking around. He's just kidding around, and I'm like, everybody please come, this is a Abbas picture, and please have a look at it, because I never wanted.
So your father's been just like an AI operator, at home as well. But sir, there's more concern to it, so I got this information out so that I can share. AI generated information is expanding at a sprint. The AI text generator market is predicted to expand compound annual growth rate of 49% between 2023 and 28. Now, I'm just, making sure that it's precise. That predicted wave of content is prompting concerns, including regarding the quality and reliability of AI-generated content and activity. Your take on this?
Yeah. So it is true that sometimes, for example, the ChatGPT and other large language models also hallucinate. You must understand that this is a new technology that is just surfacing.
So is it like a bug in the algorithm?
Even for example, in the most refined algorithms for self-driving or medicine or something, they will tell you that the algorithm is 94% accurate or 97% accurate.
And it can never be 100% accurate.
It can be, given, for example,
because it's updating every day.
In one case, for instance, in one case of one medical use case, for instance, we trained it on some of the data, and so far the data that we have received from local hospitals, it is 100% accurate, but that's probably because we haven't tested it on as much data as we need to. As we diversify data and we get more results, it's very unlikely that will remain 100% accurate. But then, for example, if it's not 100% accurate, then why do we need AI? Then why use AI? Why not go for some other technology that is 100% accurate? This brings us to the question of probability, if people understand what probability is. You see, the thing is that if you can make an empirical model, an analytical model of anything, for example, Newton's law of motion, right? You know already, for example, that if there is a certain acceleration or deceleration and an initial velocity, then what will the final velocity be? There is no sense in applying any probabilistic model like artificial intelligence to this kind of thing, right? But if, for instance, you are dealing with something about which you don't know any facts, so instead of, for example, just making guesses or with limited information trying to guess what will likely happen or something like that, AI is a much more formidable tool which gives you a much better probabilistic idea
Yeah,
about.
but it's still probabilistic.
It is, of course.
We talk about hallucinations. Is there any way that AI can be sometimes indecisive?
I think that in AI,
Just like
the
a human.
utility-based
Yeah.
agents, there are 4 different kinds of agents. Utility-based agents are designed for the fact when a definite decision is not there. For instance, if a car is driving on the road and an accident is inevitable, right?
Yep.
So how to minimize the damage, for instance?
Yeah.
There is no absolute right answer for it. Either to bump into a human or to bump into a wall. This kind of circumstances can befall a human as well.
But I will let the machine decide better, man. I'll be like, okay, I think you decide because you've got it as well.
That's
But while
human preference, of
Yeah,
course.
but while we're at it, 2 last questions just very quickly, and that is that obviously in today's time, there's cameras everywhere, there's data being collected, there's sensors being put in place as well, there's human behavior under observation, and that too ChatGPT is doing that, or probably artificial intelligence engines are doing that as well. Do you think that in days to come, just like I asked you about, whether to give autonomy to AI and what it can do you think it can actually have human conscience to itself, probably because the way that it's going on, and it might, because, imagine that the kind of prompts that we are giving to ChatGPT as well, it will save those prompts as well and be like, hey, you know what, last time you asked me this, I think you're going to ask me this again, so here's your answer.
If you look at the traditional Turing test, for instance, which was coined in the 1940s, 1945, I think, by Alan Turing. So it is meant that, for example, when you converse with an AI, you should feel like you're conversing with a human.
Okay.
So essentially, if it does not show any kind of empathy, then you would know after, a bit of chat that, this is not a human that you're talking to.
Yeah.
So a bit of empathy has to somehow be created, but how will it be created? There are several actually psychological models that with which you can, for example, map different emotions. And even in our lab, we have some research in which robots can, express emotions or can try to understand the emotions that some person is feeling by face recognition, for example, by the move. In fact, one of the best paper awards that we got in London in 2018 was actually about, for example, with the hand movement, with the movement of fingers. Can you guess, for example, what underlying emotion is there, which is, attempted to be conveyed by that movement of the hand?
Yeah.
So, and also another question that you asked earlier, that, for example, will a layman be able to tell about the deepfakes? So just by looking at the picture, if it is intended to cause a confusion, there are tools that are good enough with which you will not be able to tell just by looking at it. But there are computer tools that can examine them and that can tell that this is a deepfake and it's not a real.
But these days, those videos from America's Got Talent, obviously people need to understand that it's an AI generated art as well. Very quickly.
Some of these videos were forwarded to us. We passed them through one of our tools and we can tell if they are artificial or real.
Because I posted one video and then there was this guy who actually texted me on my Instagram, sir, you're posting AI generated art. And I was like, okay, I didn't know that it existed. But very quickly, sir, towards the end, one last question, that is that certainly I would want you to touch upon generative AI. And number 2, do you think artificial intelligence in days to come, जैसे हम पहले कहते हैं कि रिश्ते आसमानों में बनते हैं, can actually find you a compatible partner?
Already, I think Umar Saif's app is doing it.
Dil Ka Rishta.
Dil Ka Rishta is already doing it.
Yeah,
And it's using basically, you see, the thing is that right now, for example, when parents go to find a rishta, for instance, so it is their, experience and everything that they have known so far in the world. But for instance, statistically, if you look at, for example, if you make such kind of match, does it eventually, result in a good relationship or not? Does it? But I think that we would have a lot less data available to us because many people would not answer about the relationships truthfully, or they would not be willing to take surveys about something that private.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
We have been seeing this in movies, because you asked about the Dil Ka Rishta, so actually it rang some bells. Can an AI generate? Can a robot actually replace your spouse? Because we have seen that in movies. So I really want to.
Because, like, whether we feel good about something or feel bad about something in the moment depends upon the dopamine, for example, which actually we have being released in our body at that time. This is that chemical that gives us that feeling. So if we want to experience a certain feeling at a certain time, for instance, we go to the Madame Tussauds museums, for instance, to take pictures with celebrities. We know that they are not real celebrities. But standing next to them and getting a picture, we know it's not a real picture, but somehow it gives us a kick, right? So sometimes, for some brief circumstances, it might give you happiness, but I don't think that an entirely AI partner could give you a lasting happiness.
Well,
I don't think so.
So what Professor Saab is actually trying to say is that you cannot replace a human with AI, okay? People
And
need to
that's very
understand
nice.
that.
That's not the purpose of AI. Is meant to be a tool that helps humans in various things.
And getting
it's
better.
not meant to replace humans at all.
And getting better at life. And obviously,
sure.
you know,
and you cannot have an AI co-answer.
Exactly, and person like Professor Dr. YASAR, who happens to be the chairman, National Center of Artificial Intelligence, can never go against it as well. But thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, inshallah, we'll continue it tomorrow as well, where we'll be talking about generative AI. But while we are at it, obviously, we've always made sure that, that we always speak about all of those people who contributed to this very industry that we work in. If not just that, may it be literature, may it be poetry, may it be art. These are the unsung heroes that we really need to remember, because they have paved the path for all of us, which is why today we are actually remembering Mr. Rashid Atri Saab on his death anniversary. He's a musician, composer. And while we are observing this, ladies and gentlemen, he was born in 1919 in Amritsar, British India. Rashid Atri started his music career from composing music for several films, including Laila Majnu, Rukhsana and Gulshan. Famous songs composed by him are Sada Hun Apne Pyar Ki. Sada Hun Apne Pyar Ki, I know the people might be aware. Sada Hun Apne Pyar Ki. My grandfather used to love it the most. Gulo Mein Rang Bhare, Gulo Mein Rang Bhare. And Mausam Rangile Suhare. He won the prestigious Nigar Award 3 times. He passed away on this day in 1967 in Lahore. May his soul rest in peace. And we really need to remember all of our heroes. While we are at it, do you want to continue?
Yes, we have another death anniversary. We have another person to remember, very important person. Death anniversary of the renowned film, TV and stage actor Ali AYAZ is being observed today. Ali AYAZ was born in 1941 in Lahore. He started his career in 1967 and was well known for his role in a popular television comedy drama series, Khwaja and Son. Ali AYAZ acted in over 100 films, and he was awarded Pride of Performance in 1993. He died on this day in 2018 in Lahore.
And moving on, where today happens to be the 18th death anniversary of renowned writer, novelist, journalist and columnist Shaukat Siddiqui is being observed today. Born in Lucknow in 1923, Shaukat Siddiqui did his MA in political science from Lucknow University. He migrated to Pakistan after partition, first settling in Lahore and then moving to Karachi, where he remained associated with a number of newspapers. Also served as editor of 3 Urdu newspapers, namely Daily Anjam, the weekly Al-Fatah and Daily Musawat. His novel Khuda Ki Basti won him acclaim as well as an Adamji Literary Award. The novel was adapted into a drama on Pakistan television and also translated into several languages. His other novel, Jangloos, was another masterpiece which was serialized in the Sabrang Digest and was dramatized on PTV. Remembering him as well today, ladies and gentlemen. For everybody who's out there, I think it is our utmost obligation to kind of make sure that our future generations know about all of these artists who've contributed. But while we're at it, while we're speaking of contribution, I think, the only thing which made you laugh today was me asking about your husband, right? was it like that or not? No, I mean, it's okay.
I was not expecting.
No, but it's okay. It's okay, because we were talking about your husband and I asked her, okay, what does he do and all of that. And she spoke really well about him. And that this is something which is not really normal in a Pakistani household. Not a lot of women would say a lot of good stuff about men. Not a lot of men will actually say a lot of good stuff about women. And this is something which I hate the most. And it's because of the fact that I think that we certainly need to kind of learn a few things and to kind of speak about it. We'll speak about self-care as well. We want to speak about, how in relationships people can actually do better. Because unfortunately, mard ka ek alag concept hai, khawateen ka ek alag concept hai. So to kind of, juggle in between both. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who's actually achieved quite a lot. She just recently received an award from Mr. Boris Johnson as well. Not just that, she happens to be somebody who is a relationship therapist. She's a psychologist as well. She will be giving us tips on self-care, whether if it's getting toxic, what do we need to do, and how do we actually make it not toxic as well. We're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a REFUGE practitioner, a psychologist. She is Ms. SANIASEHBAI. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, madam. Good morning. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Allah ka shukar, bilkul theek thaak. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. You've traveled all the way from UK to be on our show. I think it's amazing. So let's get started with it. First of all, please unwind and unfold the concept of self-care for all of us and our viewers who are out there.
So just to simplify, it's something that we all have needs, and Maslow, one of the psychologists, had a hierarchy of needs.
Yep.
And your primary needs are your,
Needs,
your
wants,
hunger,
demands,
your thirst, and your need for oxygen, you know, those are our primary basic needs. And then comes the safety and security, then sense of belonging, self-esteem, and the top is the self-actualization. And unfortunately, many of us are just struggling at the bottom of that pyramid and never get to reach the top, which is self-actualization, having a purpose in life.
Yep.
So self-care means that, you know, if you're not just in survival mode, which we are all the time usually, getting food, getting oxygen, getting, you know, very, very basic stuff. So when we are able to achieve the safety, the sense of belonging, we are feeling part of a community, and we are able to then focus on yourself and think about
But the issues are very
self-esteem.
brief now. Now imagine that, you know, unfortunately, but I have to be really honest with what I'm doing today. Now imagine that we live in a place, geographically we're located at a position where unfortunately we might not even get gas supply, we might not even get electricity, we might not be secure, we might not get the right education, we might not get clean drinking water. I mean, we obviously happen to be from that category of the, or segment of the society where alhamdulillah we're blessed to have all of these amenities and facilities as well. But there are people, you know, who actually live below poverty line, and there's majority of it. So how do you think that they will not struggle, but rather be at the point of self-actualization in the Maslow's hierarchy?
So unfortunately, research shows that many people, majority, won't reach that.
Okay.
But if you have reached that, then you have a duty to reach out to those. And then that's what I've been working with vulnerable women and children. And it's a joy to see them sort of climbing that pyramid and being able to then go to self-esteem and actualization.
So let's simplify it for people as well. Sorry, Sadaf, but let's simplify it for people, because research shows that not everybody will be able to do that. Why? And how can we actually achieve that in our lives?
So again, if you have not climbed the primary steps and you are still
Needs,
stuck
wants,
at,
demands.
yeah, just shelter is a problem, you can't even reach that, and you're struggling, like you said. So then what do? Like, you are going to look out for help, gather help. Because our primary survival, you know, when we are in a survival mode, we have 5 things. We have freeze, flight, fight, faint, and friend.
Okay.
We forget the friend. So a lot of times we are going through hard times, and, you know, even people who are on that
friends
primary
forget us as
level,
well.
you don't remember to gather support, and they will not reach out, or if they will say, okay, I'll go begging instead of investing in myself, because they're just in the survival mode. So if we have that privilege to be able to help out people, that is
So
also
a support system
self-care.
can actually help.
And that is also your self-care, because self-care is not just looking after yourself. You get serotonin, you know, amazing burst when you're helping others. You don't need to go get an injection or a, you know, tablet for that.
That's true.
But sometimes you have to realize, first of all, that you need help.
Yes.
The realization, this is the beginning point of, you know, like getting
Definitely.
towards it.
Definitely.
Some people do not even realize that they're in a toxic relationship. Some people do not even realize that they're having a hard time in dealing with the situation. Some people do not realize that they actually, they're needing that help.
Yes.
What is that one thing that we can do to make a person realize that they actually need help?
So I think what happens with us, we start accepting abusive behavior, toxic behavior, because we've been told that. I worked with a client, and she was from Mauritius, and her mother sort of, you know, they grew up in a Hindu household. And the mother said, haven't you seen me being slapped around by your dad? Why are you
This is what I
leaving?
want to talk about here as well. I was going through this research once, and it was actually conducted on women who are actually facing domestic violence at home. Their husbands were beating them, and the women, they actually said this thing that their husbands, they beating them, they think that that's their right on their wives.
Yeah.
So, you know, like 85 to 90% of women, Shahzad, can you imagine, they were actually having this idea that this is actually something which is justified, which is something which is a normal thing, and that's a right of a husband. How can you go ahead and change the whole concept in this society?
And I did some training with this woman who was South African. She was working with men who are having difficulties in relationships, not able to stop abusing. And she said one of the gentlemen came in and he said, oh, you don't know about this, but it's in the Quran. It's in the Quran that I can hit my wife. And she says, oh, really? I've read the Quran. Where is it? And then he was just quiet, because, you know, it's never in any religion to be abusive or oppressive to another person. We all a human race. Because we've been gender trained, or the man is going to go get the food for us, so we are able to, you know, have the whole show for them.
Yeah, which is why, you know, let's bring it to this context. Obviously, you know, I think there needs to be more awareness about it. People now, when, you know, they're getting education, you know, they go get exposure from different parts of the world, they behave maturely well. Now, let's come down to this point as well, where we have spoken about how if it's getting toxic, you get used to of it. Now, imagine it's the curse of that intergeneration, you know, morals and values and ethos, which we have been always following. What do you think it will take for any man or woman to kind of break that barrier and be like, hey, you know what, agar dada bu ye karte the, ammi ye karti thi, abbu ye karte the, chachu karte the, main ye nahi karna chahta hu. And you know, so there will always be that immense pressure onto that lady or onto that boy as well. How do you think that we can break that and come over that?
So unfortunately, research shows that if you've been a victim or a perpetrator growing up, you know, you are in that situation, you've grown up as that's your background, only 2% people are able to come away from that. And 98% people will choose a partner who's going to be abusive, or they're going to be a victim. So unfortunately, the script you're born with is very easy. It's like a VJ playing the song. Okay, this fits this situation. I already have a script. You have to sort of take a step back and say, no, I want to do it differently. So that's why I would say self-care, mindfulness, that is something that we need to talk about, and we need to encourage people and help them. And very, very simple things. We've had it for ancient times. You know,
ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि हम दोनों को समझा दें कि भाई तुम दोनों ने जिंदगी इकट्ठे अगर गुजारनी है, you know, you can actually spend it with peace, love, tranquility. You know, you can do so many things better. You know, so as you know, somebody who actually gives out advice on relationships as well, how do you think people who've been in a toxic relationship can undo the toxicness and be better people together?
Yeah. And there are programs for, you know, if people are taking responsibility and saying, yes, I've been abusive, then they can go and learn how to not be abusive. And 60% of sort of abusive behavior is usually situational couple violence, where there is a situation and it triggers the violence, but the people didn't mean to be like that. Like most of the men don't want to talk about problems. They've had problems at work. They don't want to come home and have the problems.
Garam pani nahi aa raha, darwaze ka handle toot gaya.
Like,
things like that.
So be it. What can I do? I've had all that load of work. So when they step into the house, they want to be calm, they want to be peaceful. And then the wife has been waiting all day long to have a vent out, to just have a moan, not asking them to be solving anything. But at work, they're always responsible. They have to resolve issues. So as soon as she mentions something, just a listening ear is needed. Whereas he's like, oh my God, I've just come home, blah, 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 blah. And then he'll just walk out. The woman might go and say, no, you cannot leave. We're having a chat right now. And he might push her to get out. And that is then abuse. But if you were to say, okay, actually we can contract, I'm going to go out for a walk for half an hour, let's calm down. Or he's going to say, I'm going to watch TV for some time, have a shower, after half an hour, we're going to talk about this. Everybody gets calm, and then you can have a conversation like we do at work or anywhere else.
Exactly. So the therapy and counseling, does it work in such cases?
Yeah, it does.
If it's contained and people are taking responsibility, but if they're
they
not
don't want to talk about it.
Yes, if the man is taking responsibility and saying, yes, I shouldn't have done that, yes, it was abusive, then it works. But if you have coercive control which is hidden, like people are just looking at a woman and they know she's going to stop whatever she's doing. So that's intimidation, threats, and they never have to lay a finger on her. So that is very hard because they are hidden.
We have a question and it actually came from the producer's side, and one of our teammates want to know that the anger, does it last for only 20 minutes? If you contain it, is it going to go away?
Which is why they say, you know, if you're angry, sit down. If you're, you know, sitting down angry, you know, lie down, have a glass of water. And that's sunnah as well.
Of course it is. Yes, it can last for that. But like I said, the coercive control, which are called the cobras, they're very hidden, they're very manipulative. So it's not a case of anger management. It's wrongly construed that because you couldn't manage your anger, you had a fit and you had this abusive behavior. It is not a question of that. If somebody was pushed in a sort of a dead end, they're going to back off, they're going to bang. So that is a different case. But if somebody's planned this, they want this woman to suffer, they're not going to be interested in change. And when I was working as a relationship therapist, there was one couple who did not disclose any abuse, and when they came in for therapy, the woman just disclosed everything to the therapist, went home, and she was dead.
All right. So that's sad as well, but I think people really need to kind of take decisions on time, and I would always kind of recommend that a decision which you take on time when it was necessary, it will only show its impact and effectiveness only then, if it was taken on time. But thank you so much, Ms. Sania, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. And while we are at it, I think we have 2 international important days, but you want to say something? Please go ahead.
I want to add something here. It's never too late to walk out of, because this is very serious. This actually comes from a personal perspective as well. It's never too late to walk out of a toxic situation or a relationship. Whenever it's needed, you have to do it, and it's very brave of you. It's not a cowardness that you have to come out of something. Exactly.
But which is why now I'm going to move on towards the International Migrants Day as well, where we need to think about the people all over the globe. International Migrants Day is observed annually on December 18 to recognize the invaluable contribution of hundreds of millions of migrants living outside of their home countries and draw attention towards the challenges faced by them. The UN General Assembly declared December 18th as International Migrants Day in view of the increasing number of migrants in the world. Migration is a global phenomenon driven by many forces and circumstances. Therefore, this year's theme, honoring the contributions of migrants and respecting their rights, emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the contributions of migrants to society and also ensuring that their rights are respected.
Exactly. Also, we have
also, in addition to this, I'm going to ask you this question. Kaifa hal? Ana bil khair? Alhamdulillah.
Shukran.
All right, please go ahead.
Shukran for asking.
Go ahead, what do you have for us?
I don't know much Arabic, so I don't want to go in a... okay, so today we have World Arabic Language Day, and World Arabic Language Day is celebrated every year on December 18th. The date
400 million speak Arabic language, and it's the 6th UN opted official language as well. Please go ahead. Go ahead, continue.
So the date was chosen to commemorate the day when the United Nations General Assembly adopted Arabic as its 6th official language in 1973, with over 400 million people conversing in Arabic throughout the world. The day is being observed since 2012 to honor its rich history, cultural significance, and its contribution to a number of fields, including architecture, philosophy, and even singing.
And not just that. So imagine there are 2 billion Muslims all over the globe, and each and every one of them is actually aware of Arabic as well. So I think that's something that people really need to kind of take importance of. But while we are at it, ladies and gentlemen, while we were in conversation with Ms. SANIASEHBAI, he was talking about, how self-care is important, how you need to get out of a toxic relationship, how you can get therapy. I think this is where life coaches actually come in, and the idea is so new to all of us that do we actually need a life coach or not? So to kind of answer all of these questions, we're lucky that we've been joined by Mr. Naveed Khan, who happens to be a life coach himself. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam, and thank you Shahzad and Sadaf for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. For somebody who's a life coach, what should we expect from his personality or the way that he will be?
Well, for a life coach, I was listening to the previous segment, right? And so psychology and life coaching go pretty much hand in hand.
Yep.
But just to give you an idea of how it breaks down, life coaching focuses more on your future, where you want to achieve goals, you want to achieve something in life, whereas traditional therapy, psychology, is more about past traumas, childhood abuse, so many things that have happened in the past.
Which I don't know why, even obviously it can get difficult for people, but I have never ever been of the sort, Allah, shukr alhamdulillah, that I actually go back in my past and be like, yaar, ye nahi hona chahiye tha, ho gaya, aage chalo, so, and that's how life needs to be. So, sir, while we are at it, what exactly is life coaching? How does it differ from traditional therapy? You have jawab de diya. How can life coaching support someone struggling with mental health challenges?
Right. So, life coaching has been lately a new concept. Previously, it was, as I said before, more like traditional psychology, talking about your past experiences and how to get rid of them. Life coaching is now more about where anybody who feels stuck in life, we wake up in the morning and all the day passes by and we are like, pura din guzar gaya, kuch bhi nahi kiya. Life coaching is about setting priorities in life, setting goals in life, having a purpose in life. What is important to me? My career, my relationships, my family, so many things. And then channel them in a way that you can then allow and reach out and achieve those goals through traditional life coaching.
In our society, people do not know much about going to a psychologist, going to a therapist. But if we talk about a life coach, this concept is comparatively even newer. It's actually a concept which is even far rare in our society. So how can someone identify if they need a life coach?
And in particular, you know, obviously with married couples, you know, so both of them will always be blaming each other. You need to go see a psychologist. You need to go see a psychologist. How do they decide?
Right. So first of all, the first step is that you identify that there is a problem.
Yeah.
We all try to put things under the rug, saying,
शादीशुदा जिंदगी मसले तो होंगे ना. I mean, I would want to take the approach our grandparents have taken always, you know, so they've resorted to things, you know, in between each other, you know, so they've always stayed in their bedroom, you know, it's not like you have to be really vocal about it. Obviously, yes, you know, if it gets beyond your limit, you really need to kind of go seek help and raise concerns about it with your family and everybody else. When is that time when you really need to go to somebody that, okay, I cannot, probably it's a nervous breakdown?
yeah. So you start to identify as soon as you start to doubt yourself. So there's this constant voice in your head that keeps on doubting you. I'm not good enough. I don't look good enough. My voice is not fine. My suit is not fine. And all of those self-doubts are there. It is in every human being. I would be wrong in saying I myself being a life coach. I have self-doubts myself. I'm not perfect. To identify and be aware of those voices in your head, and then to have a life coach to help you manage those voices and to use different techniques in life coaching, which is NLP, timeline therapy, to then identify those self-doubts and get ahead of them. I'll give you an analogy.
Sure.
You go to a school, you have a child who has a, you know, in art, so many books on his back, right? And you have like 10, 15 kgs of bag carrying. Imagine those bags and that weight as your past negative emotions, all past traumas, everything, and you're dragging along in life, trying to achieve your career in this fast-paced world. But you won't be able to do that. So as a life coach, we come in and we try to get rid of that extra baggage that you're carrying all the time and help you, and that way you try achieve your goals in the future without that baggage on you.
And I'll give
What's
you
the
another
success
analogy
rate?
over here. So I would want to give you another analogy, and that is that now imagine that in life, whenever you come across somebody, so maybe in the morning, you know, if somebody, you know, gets into road rage with you, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to get rid of their baggage by dumping it onto you. Now, how do you think that anyone can actually avert that by, hey, you know what, I'm not going to let you do that on me or with me, you know, so probably, you know, find another person to do that. How can we be that confident that, bhaijan, ye hamare saath na kare, aap kisi aur ke saath kare.
Right. You can relate it to your own self, Shahzad. So when you were relatively younger, right, you would have got into you know, fights, road rage more quicker compared to now you are today, because you've evolved with time. And that's how you naturally evolve. It's a natural God-gifted way that we evolve. We learn.
Time nahi zaya karna yaar.
But
Right,
what's
so-
the success rate of it? For example, somebody is going to a life coach. What is the success rate?
So it's like, you know, you want to go to the gym every day. Every day you put your clothes there, you get a gym membership, but you keep on, you don't go there. A life coach is somebody who is not only going to make you accountable, but he's the one who's going to get rid of all those self-doubts about body shaming, about what I need to do, and help you stay on track. He's like your personal GPS. He's like your Google Maps. Every week you meet, you set goals, you give tasks to each other, and then you make sure that the next time you meet in a session, you complete those tasks. It's very different to mentoring, where you, after months, 2 months, 3 months, you go to a general mentor in life. They just have a discussion with you.
And you know, to kind of simplify it, you know, imagine that, you know, we have had life coaches all through our lives. Now imagine maybe our parents, maybe our friends and whatnot. So I still remember when I started my television career with a private channel, my friends used to always be with me, you know, because I always lacked that kind of confidence. And then they were like, hey, you know what, you can do it, yeah, no problem. We're sitting over here, you will manage it and whatnot. You know, it used to give me so much of confidence that I was able to kind of overcome all of those barriers as well. So everybody has had life coaches, but it's just that we, you know, when there's a label that we put to it, then people are like, oh, I don't know whether I need a life coach or not. You know, so it's just there to make you better. But thank you so much for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Lovely to see somebody with such a smiling face early in the morning, just like me. Because smile happens to be the best curve on the human body, and for everybody who's out there, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I want to say this, that sometimes we actually go ahead and we take our, like we discuss our problems, we listen to the solutions, but we fail to imply them on ourselves sometimes. So, like we have to take steps, concrete steps for that as well.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure the next time if somebody asks you a question, what will or where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, tell them, mujhe kya pata, Allah ko pata. All right, until next time, look after yourself.
Really good.
Stay motivated, stay dedicated,
Yeah.
be passionate about your life, do whatever is in your capacity. See, I'm going to explain it in Urdu as well. देखिए जो असबाब आप जमा कर सकते जो वसाइल अल्लाह ने आपको दिया आप उनको जमा करें उसके बाद आप अल्लाह से दुआ करें कि जो whatever is in my capacity I've done Allah now please make sure that it's actually helpful for me or help me grow as well. So always make sure that you remember Allah in your prayers, pray from Allah Almighty as well, and always be full of gratitude, and that's something which will actually take you where you want to be, and be empathetic with people. Until next time, look after yourselves. That was a great show. Good morning.
Bye bye.